that, going back, you're right. I do get lots and lots and lots of emails or submissions mail, via regular mail, um, asking to be heard or asking, how do I get management or I want to sing to you or whatever. Now, two things to that. One is that in my own experience, as I said earlier, if someone whose opinion I respect calls me or writes to me and says, dear Bill, I hope you don't mind, but I've given your name to a young mezzo who I really, I worked with, and she's really smart, and if you're going to hear from her, and it'd be great if you could make the time to hear because I believe in her. Thank you. Mm-hmm. As a favor to that person, 9 times out of 10, I'll make the time to hear that artist. Mm-hmm. That's me. I mean, there are plenty of managers that won't. There are plenty of managers that will.
Do you hold regular auditions simply yourself?
I don't auditions. It's not like, once every 3 months I'll rent a room and, bring people in to sing to me. I don't do it that way. I do it more as just like a one-off, person by person. But you can't know. Well, you would know. But the numbers of times where I get, to whom it may concern, my name is, Sally Soprano, and I would like to sing to you, or I'm going to be in New York from this date to this date, and whatever. The point is that to whom it may concern, or dear sir, in an approach to a manager, is an automatic delete. Mm-hmm. Like if I get an email, to whom it may concern, my name is Sally Soprano, and I'm a delete, because that person hasn't taken the time to, it takes the same amount of time to write Dear Mr. Palant that it does to whom it may concern. And I am not a to whom it may concern kind of person, and none of my I'm not concerned. And so I think that, and this is something that young singers, the same way that, you have to know what roles you're auditioning for, or knowing who you are as a person, as a performer, you also have to know who your audience is. And I am your audience. Caroline Woodfield at Opus 3 is your audience. Robert Rattray at Askenis Holt is your audience. And you have to know your audience. And if you're calling or writing to one of us to ask for an appointment to sing to us, to meet us, to talk about management,
or to invite you to a concert,
invite us to a concert, know who we are, know who our styles are, what our styles are. Look at who we represent. Are we, there are lots of managers out there who represent quote unquote opera singers, and that they, in the business, and I won't name any names, but if you're the Metropolitan Opera and you're casting Il Trovatore or Gioconda, you call this particular agency because they will have all the singers to cast your big opera. If you were doing St. Matthew Passion, they would be the last people that you would call because they don't have anyone. Whereas IMG or another company, our roster has a pretty good balance of, we have so many artists on our roster, but we also have a good balance. But know who your audience is. I used to work with Barbara Bonney, and she still does a lot of master classes. She lives in Austria now. And she once told the story about, she was working with a soprano who came to her to coach Susanna from The Marriage of Figaro. And so she sang De Vieni, and Barbara's, okay, fine. And so Barbara said, okay, now I want you to sing it to me as if you were doing an audition for John Eliot Gardner. And the artist sort of went, huh? What? Huh? Well, sing it like you're going to do an audition to John Eliot Gardner. What do you mean? Well, if you're a Susanna and you're auditioning to John Elliott Gardner, you're going to present yourself differently for him than you would, let's say, if you were auditioning to James Levine for the same role. Know your audience. And it's the same thing when talking to artist managers. I'm very different than Robert Rattray at Askenis Holt. Caroline Woodfield at Opus 3 is very different than John Anderson at Barrett Vantage. Michael Levine in Austria is different from Verena Witter in Munich. So, I mean, everyone is different. Know your audience. Know who you're speaking to. Look at who they represent. Are they is my artist roster the kind of roster that you want to be on? Do I have artists that you admire or whose careers you respect? Maybe yes, maybe no. If no, look at Musical America and find, for those of you that get a Musical America, go to the library, and there are thousands of artist management credits here and rosters. Go online, and if you're in Europe, there is the Pay Guide, PAYE guide, that has the same thing for the European market.